describe our services, our 5x5 pathways to success, and just to mention that our core competencies include market entry for the companies that would like to expand internationally. We do category entry, portfolio exercises to freshen up portfolio strategically and tactically. We do strategic reviews. We support companies in M&A projects. Now, I'm going to introduce entries for the awards, and Nicholas has already introduced entries, and you have voted for the new product of the year. So the next award is Creative Awards, and this is for the most creative marketing campaign in Asia-Pacific region. And the first entry is Doctoring, and this will be presented by Regina Shu, and I believe that we have 2 videos to present this entry.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the brand owner of Doctoring. Today, I will introduce you what the creative things we have done in 2018. Doctoring family has strong portfolio and communicated in China market for around 30 years, helping Chinese patients relieve from the athlete food. And Go Doctoring is a hero SKU which is driving the business growth of Doctoring family. So today, I will introduce the Go Doctoring communication innovation. In the previous 29 years, Doctoring has built a strong brand awareness, which is more than 90%, and the strong brand equity through the traditional communication. So the strong brand equity, including the root-grabbing icon, tagline, red color packaging, and the complete portfolio. We did the creative innovation from 3 perspectives. The first one is make the consumer top needs dramatic, so the patients fly into the sky and scratch the feet. The second point is a highly occasion-based. So we developed the 3 versions of occasion: playing basketball, weightlifting, and light dance, which is highly relevant with the AF. The third one is that we shortened the creative from traditional 15 seconds to 5 seconds to ensure the quick brand exposure in the crowded digital environment. Finally, we got brilliant results: exposure, reach, at click. Athlete food incident is only 30%. For the traditional TVC, 70% audience are not relevant to the advertising. For example, in the traditional TVC environment, if 100 people see the advertising, 30 of them are AF sufferers. But for hyper-targeted approach, if 100 people see Doctoring advertising, 93 of them are AF sufferers. And here is our sales achievement of the innovation. In-store sell-out growth of the key account is 30%, while the e-commerce of Ali platform growth at 33%. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy it.
金达克宁，
杀真菌治脚气，金达克宁。
杀真菌治脚气，金达克宁。
So that was our first entry, Doctoring Gold, and I would like to invite Earl Hayona to present IMO by Combifarm. Hope you're here. Okay.
Hello guys, good afternoon. I'm Earl from really IMS Asia, but we are the distributor of Combifar in the Philippines. And since the Combifar people are not available, so I was sent here to represent Combifar. But I'm representing two companies as of the moment. IMS Asia and Combifar. All right, before anything else, I would like to present to you my greatest achievement so far, IMO campaign for the creative. Yeah, wait. All right. For almost 40 years, IMO has been in the market and has been a part of the lives of Filipino people. And now we want to reinforce that commitment with them. And let's start talking with our target market, which is the millennials. No? Millennials are the 1/3 of the total population of the Philippines, and 83% of them are still heavily reliant to their parents. And they are, looking at what their parents are telling them. So from the Filipinos' point of view, IMO is a brand heritage. It was brought from the parents going to the children or to the kids. Our main strategy is to educate the youth, and we want education to be the most important part of the campaign, to let them know that eye care is the most important part and the best solution to relieve the eye irritations. Okay, for this year, IMO campaign shall anchor on the strong headline that embodies the brand's purpose, that helping the brand to build a bright future for the country and pushes the flagship product, which is IMO. Okay, red is the color of love and care, and red is the color of IMO, which is, now we try to coin two words, red as the color of energy, passion, and love, and evolution, which is change, growth, and advancement. And our big idea is to have one word, which is Redvolution. And it is a statement to call out every Filipino to partake the national movement to spread love and care through education and the importance of healthy eyesight and the paramount of eye care to every Filipino. Now, how do we invite everyone to become part of the Redvolution? So we began by familiarizing the public with an iconic image of IMO. So there, that's the bottle. That's the one that we used initially. But we thought of changing the look. As of the moment, if you can see, most of our iconic brands like Instagram, Taco Bell, Uber, they changed their look, and they have become much more simpler. It has a negative space, it has a flat design, and they only use shapes so that the millennials will be more attracted to them. So from the bottle, we created a new look, which is this one, which is the logo. And when we see the icon, we know that it is IMO, that it signifies relief, and it signifies eye care. And in 2018, IMO Redvolution icon will be present in all communication. Thus, we made this as our new look for the campaign, IMO Redvolution. So there is a very catchy look that is very relevant for the millennials. Also, we also changed the symptoms of eye irritation icons. And to further boost the campaign, we had a 3 legs communication plan. And this is the 3 Redvolution activations, which are education, eye care, and iGo. So our roadmap is to really infiltrate the public relations through radio ad, through digital content, school tour, CSR, LRT and MRT activations, digital content, and short documentary film. Okay, the leg 1 is the IMO Redvolution, which is eye care, wherein we showed the sincerity of IMO, wherein we did a CSR, and we provided we provided services to the unprivileged, and we give them free services like eye care kits, and free checkups. And also we had partnered with some of the non-social organizations in the Philippines. For the iGo, we went to the LRT and MRT stations we were exposed there, and we give samples, and also we give samples and giveaways, and part of that we also have eye checkup. And for the education, we went to different schools, and we used the power of music to capture the attention of the millennials. And we did an activation there. We did an infotainment and interaction, and at the same time, we did free eye checkups. And at the same time, we have this augmented reality that is present in all the school tours. We created a special app for the youth. They downloaded it, and then this is the first app in the Philippines that has become the first marketing tool ever. So the app will be downloaded, and then you will take a picture, and then you just click on the IMO icon, and then the red eyes will be gone. So this augmented reality reached almost 7,000 students. And at the same time, we did an inspirational documentary film for the millennials. And this is a true story of 3 young millennials which wants to bridge the gap of the generation, and just to tell their true life stories. So IMO did this creativity with the heart. And on top of that, we continue to penetrate the market with the full 360 marketing campaign. And the total reach for our campaign had reached more than 24 million total in the Philippines. And as a result, in 2 years, right after our launch in 2017, we have our highest sales, record high, 31% growth versus last year, and now we are the current market leader with 65% market share. I'm sorry.
Not a usual topic being discussed in the Philippines. About 2 million Filipinos are in peril of losing eyesight. This sparks the idea of creating Eye Small Care More, the country's first annual eye care awareness campaign. It began in 2017, a campaign that helped bolster IMO's comeback in the Philippine market. The nationwide campaign strongly highlights IMO's full commitment to spread eye care awareness, combating the 5 signs of eye irritation. This campaign earned a total media reach of 109 million. On its second year, IMO refocused its message to the young people, whom we believe need to be the banner carriers of a nation with healthy eyesight. The brand instigated a movement for positive change with another breakthrough in brand communication through Eye Small Care More Redvolution. The hashtag Redvolution is an ingenious campaign that aims to mobilize millennials to actively participate in a national movement that brings out the good qualities of color red as a color of love and care, together with IMO Red Eyes formula. The red variant is for quick relief of eye redness and minor discomforts caused by irritants. Millennials are highly exposed to eye irritants on the road, at work, and in school, which may affect their health and overall productivity. The campaign is a call out to the youth, an encouragement to better take care of their eyes. We rally the young ones to become part of Eye Smoke Caramel revolution through different channels and platforms that directly reach the youth. The series of activities were divided into 3: Eye Care, Eye Go, and Eye Education. Eye Care kicked off the Eye Smoke Caramel Year 2 campaign through a corporate social responsibility medical mission. IMO brought esteemed ophthalmologists to service more than 1,000 residents in Barangay Payatas, an underprivileged community in Mega Manila. IMO Philippines also partnered with TV5's Alagang Kapatid Foundation for a feeding program, donating breakfast, hygiene kits, and IMO products. IGO focused on the revolution through the city's metro rail system. We set up free eye checkup and infotainment activities in 3 of the most crowded and busiest train stations. Eye Education cleverly used the power of music to educate the youth on the importance of eye care and healthy eyes. This is Eye Smoke Caramel Revolution concert tour in different campuses. Students from different universities learn the value of eye care through fun and engaging activities. And within just a couple of months, IMO Revolution was able to gather more than 23 million reach. Apart from originality and creativity, IMO Revolution is a campaign that shall be remembered for its sincerity. IMO's brand message and presence has become even stronger through its 360 marketing. Upon launching the campaign in 2018, IMO sales is an upward swing. IMO set a record high sale in August 2018, growing in the same period as last year at 31%. IMO has strengthened its position as the dominant market leader with whopping 65% unit share, growing 10 times more than the total market. IMO, together with IMS Philippines and Combifar, continue not just to conquer the market, but also to be a leader in finding innovative ways of helping build a nation with healthy eyesight. This is how IMO revolutionized the Philippines.
Thank you, Earl. And yeah, fantastic results. Now Sanchita Jory will present Pactidol, submitted by J&J Philippines.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sanchita, and I'm presenting on behalf of the team in Philippines. The work's been done by Chrisma, Carlo, Ariane, and so here's a question, really. So do you know which is the BPO capital of the world? Yeah, no prizes for guessing. It's Philippines. Interestingly, it's the sunrise industry, but unfortunately, it's an ailing industry. If I get that right. And the challenge there is that people take it in their stride. It's a very normal thing that if you work in the BPO call center, you're bound to fall ill, and nobody is making a conscious effort to change that. Not the agents, nor the agencies. So J&J took it upon themselves to say, okay, let's do something about this and change it. So we partnered with the Ministry of Health. And the purpose and the mission was to make the lives of the BPO workforce more healthy and more vibrant. Now, how we did that was really this conversation was just not being, I think, focused on enough. So what we did was we seeded the conversation with a video. That video is done phenomenally well because it's got 41% view-through rates. We followed that up with a roundtable. Once you seed the conversation and you get the conversation going, the next thing you need to do is provide quality information. And we did that through creating a website called Voice Your Care. What that really empowered the BPO workforce to do is actually log on to that website and look up ailments that were probably troubling them, and also look at the symptoms which accompanied those ailments, and we also recommended what the solutions for those respective ailments would be. Apart from that, we also got them to do different workshops with healthcare professionals, followed that up with other things, which were like caravans, which did early checkups for them to detect early signs of any ailments that they could be suffering from. And last but not the least, so once you've seated the conversation, given people access to quality information, you also need to give them access to your product. And that's what we did by enabling in-store activations and also activations with healthcare professionals and also enabled B2C e-commerce. I'm going to play a short video for you, which actually captures everything that we did.
Employs more than 1.6 million Filipinos and generates an annual revenue of $25 billion and growing. While the BPO industry is key to the economy, it is a sick industry.
Sa trabahong to, kung ano-anong sakit makukuha mo. Ubo, sipon, diabetes, hypertension. Normal lang yan sa buhay namin.
To answer their call for help, Johnson & Johnson partnered with the Department of Health to give call center agents health education and full access to medicines across various illnesses, while utilizing the full breadth of the One J&J portfolio. Introducing Voice Your Care. The campaign launched with a film where an agent was placed inside a BPO office to discover why it's so easy to get sick and why many choose to stay despite the health risks. Viewers were then directed to voiceyourcare.com, where, with the guidance of the Department of Health, call center agents got access to healthcare modules and timely content. On ground, the Department of Health provided BPO companies with health caravans and healthcare professional training. The ongoing campaign engaged hundreds of thousands of call center agents directly, and more on social media. Plus, the campaign alerted the rest of the country about the health of call center agents through PR and media. The campaign is an example of a true public-private partnership with the Department of Health and Johnson & Johnson, continuing to answer the healthcare needs of millions of call center agents so they can live healthier, happier, and more vibrant lives.
The interesting thing is that we reached the right people at the right time with the right message at the right place, which was the BPO call centers. And that actually resulted in a 17% growth for Back to Doll, which continues to grow at a double-digit growth for the last 2 years. But more importantly, we've reached about 25% of the BPO workforce in the Philippines. And with Voice Your Care, we help them live healthier, more vibrant lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanchita. We have one more entry from Philippines, truly creative geographically. So Mika Fernandez, could you please come on stage and present Muka Silvan for the Creative Award?
Okay, good afternoon. Are you guys still okay? So my name is Mika, and I'm representing Sanofi Consumer Healthcare. So our entry for the Creative Awards is still for the launch of our Mucosolvan 24-hour capsules. It was the first and only brand in the market to communicate the convenience of once-a-day dosage for treatment of cough with phlegm. So we developed a campaign around it using the claim, one capsule, 24-hour action. And we brought it to life in different touch points, including our first ever TV campaign, our online materials at point of sale, our doctor detailers, and even our packaging. So in case you missed it earlier, if you want to view it again, we've prepared the video to tell you more about our launch. Sorry, can you play the video, please?
The cough market in the Philippines is dominated by pharmaceutical giants that are capable of spending millions on TV ads. In the past, Mucosolvan was a small player beneath these giants. But we in Sanofi Consumer Healthcare had an ambition to gain a foothold in the cough market. How does a small brand stand out against the competition? By addressing a relevant consumer need that no other brand in the market can offer. We learned that consumers want to recover quickly from their cough. Especially with their busy lifestyles, consumers need a cough remedy that is convenient to take. Our solution for speedy recovery? Mucosolvan 24-hour capsules. Mucosolvan was the first cough brand in the Philippines to offer once-a-day dosage for cough with phlegm. We communicated this in our first ever TV campaign using the claim, one capsule, 24-hour action.
Cough with phlegm? Taking medicine 3 times a day can be a hassle. Mucosolvan 24 hours. Just 1 capsule a day gives you 24-hour cough fighting action. Mucosolvan 24 hours.
And supported our TV campaign with strong visibility at our primary point of purchase, drugstores. We also improved the design of the Mucosolvan promo pack, making it stand out from the rest. We launched the campaign in January 2018, and after only 8 months, Mucosolvan delivered the following results. 70% increase in sales, 2.4 market share points gained, 8.5% increase in brand awareness, and 2.2% increase in brand usage. Mucosolvan delivered an innovation, stood out from the competition, and delivered business results, all while helping consumers improve the quality of their lives. Mucosolvan. 1 capsule, 24-hour action.
Can we go back to the slides, please? Okay. I just want to highlight a couple of things about our campaign. One is we launched an innovation. So we were the first and the only brand in the market to communicate the convenience of once-a-day dosage for cough and phlegm. Another is that we addressed an unmet yet relevant consumer need. In the Philippines, people suffer from cough at least 3 times in a year. And most of them don't recover from their cough quickly because they miss their dosage. However, everyone wants to recover from their cough. That's why the convenience that this product offered was very relevant. Lastly, it was a campaign that translated to clear, measurable business results. You saw it in our sales, in our market share, and even in our awareness and usage scores. So that's it from us. This is my whole team back home in the Philippines. So thank you, and I hope you vote for us.
Thank you, Mika, and thank you, Sanofi, for the entry. So our 5th entry will be presented by Anne Julia, and to present Combatrin by J&J Indonesia. And we actually encourage everybody to submit your products, your creative campaigns for the next year awards.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anna Julia. I'm the lead Asia Pacific lead for Nicorette, as well as the digestive health for Johnson & Johnson. So I'm here presenting on behalf of Indonesia team of the work, the amazing work they have done for Combatrin this year. So this project is actually started by, we are given tasks by our leadership team on how we can turn around the business from 8% decline to strong double-digit growth. So it's like a big task. So what we did was we formed a team. We formed a 2-pizza team. Some of you might know that 2-pizza team adopted from Amazon Jeff Bezos, which your team cannot be larger than what 2-pizza can fit. So it's like, 6 people of us locked in a room, in meeting room, really understanding what's really the consumer insight, what's really the tension that the parents are talking, having a conversation in Indonesia about the children development. So what we found out is, like children spend a lot of time on gadgets. At the same time, they are really worried about the development. So that's what we understand. And we went a bit deeper. What we understand as well, that there is also a worry that traditional games is missing from the country. What we understand as well, it's just an advantage. I'm coming from Indonesia, that we will fight for the country heritage. So people will fight to reserve the Indonesia traditional game. So this is what we understand, like the insight, the tensions. What we came up with is we would like to really connect between the brand purpose of Kambantrin, of the deworming category of Johnson & Johnson, which is about children development, and connecting it with the insight, with the consumer insight, with the consumer tension. So we came up with, just from that 2 days brainstorming, we came up with not a campaign, but a movement, Jam Main Kita, or in English, it's our playtime. So we encourage children to play outside, to play traditional game outside. This campaign is not only able to deliver the numbers, so it's able, talking about the numbers, it's able to turn around the business 17% growth. It's able to drive the engagement 5 times higher than industry rate. But I think what's more heartening for us, it's actually enable us to feel good about ourselves, that by connecting the brand purpose and the consumer insight, we are able to play a big role to deliver a better health for a generation, which is about 57 million kids. If you look at the numbers, it's bigger than the population of Korea. Korea population is about 51 million. Or it's even bigger than Singapore and Malaysia combined. So that feeling, it's much more heartening than numbers. Of course, the number is making us proud. But again, how we are able to save the life of children in Indonesia, that's what's more important. Thank you. So I'll show you some video.
Kambantrin is the leading deworming drug in the anthelmintic industry in Indonesia. However, it faced the challenge of a slowing down of total industry market growth. The brand wanted to find a platform to raise awareness, increase sales, and accelerate their growth faster than the industry. Today, many Indonesian families are spoiled with increasingly sophisticated technology, with lots of gadgets and devices. This tends to isolate families, especially children, from the outside world. Combining that insight with the mission of Indonesia Ministry of Education and Culture of shaping human beings with character education, inspired by the spirit of the community, Kambantrin Jam Main Kita campaign was launched. Here's how we did it. Taking its cue from the young techie consumers, Kambantrin focused on the opportunity to leverage digital platforms and mobile, given smartphones are ubiquitous among these generational segments. Kambantrin Jam Main Kita had a pre-launch event where parents and children were treated to fun, nostalgic traditional games. The campaign was officially launched on Indonesia's National Education Day at the Istana Presidential Palace. Kambantrin's activity online and on social media expanded the reach of social relevance of Jam Main Kita campaign. Mobile was the unifying factor that connected all the messages in the digital mix. Targeting parents based on their behavior, ads were served specially when they were playing mobile games. A mobile video campaign was launched to showcase the thematic message of Jam Main Kita and raised awareness for the need for outdoor play and inspired families to bond over traditional games. After watching the video, an end card provided for the opportunity for inspired consumers to act on their conviction and pledge support for Jam Main Kita. Kambantrin's Jam Main Kita campaign was a success. Here are the results. Jam Main Kita became trending in Twitter during the pledging day. The social media campaign had over 3.5 million impressions, 76% above delivery. Over 14,000 people pledged to support the movement. The mobile video campaign generated 5.08% engagement, 5 times that of the industry benchmark. The zero buffer videos resulted to a video completion rate of 53.47%. This is 80% more than industry standard. A tremendous amount of free mileage worth 11 billion Indonesian rupiah was generated. Best of all, from an industry with declining sales, Kamban Trin did a positive turn with a double-digit growth of more than 17%. Kamban Trin Jam Main Kita truly became a successful national social movement in Indonesia.
Yeah, so it's amazing to see the output from 2 days of brainstorming, supported by, like a very open-minded leadership team, translated into a breakthrough and cut the clutter innovation that can move the nation and provide a better health for a generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Raisa Miss Lang will present 6th and final entry for the Creative Award. That will be Panadol, GSK Malaysia. And just to remind that after that, please vote. And the voting system, it's 3 points for your first choice, 2 points for your second choice, and 1 point for your third choice. Now over to you, Raisa.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my name is Raisa Miss Lang, and I'm representing GSK Consumer Healthcare for Southeast Asia. Oops. Oh. Okay. So Malaysia has been a stronghold for Panadol for many years, with 91% market share of the total systemics market. However, although, what is happening to my, okay. Although Panadol was known for its headache credentials, it had a weak relevance outside of the moderate to severe headache spectrum. Why do you think it's repeating? Okay. Now, parallel to this, the Malaysia consumer was expanding her purchase basket to include new products that were meant to relieve mild to moderate non-head pain. So this will be muscle pain, back pains, joint pains, and which means that the market was actually growing in segments where Panadol didn't have a play in. So in order to build that presence, we had to pick the right pain area and ask ourselves, where did we have the opportunity and the ability to impact our consumers' pain states the most positive way? And the answer is in joint pain. So we understood that joint pain represented a distinct area of physical discomfort for several Malaysians. Fortunate enough, we had the right product to address the specific need through the sustained release technology of Panadol Extend. It's just that we haven't supported this product for the last 4 years. So what I'm about to show you is a project that was built on this need and on recognizing the frustration of joint pain sufferers and how it impacts their quality of life, especially when it comes to parents sharing moments of common interest with their children. So the concept and the video material that I'm going to show with you later tested excellently with a link short-term sales likelihood of 95%, with consumers' motivation to purchase driven by high credibility, persuasion, relevance, and brand difference.
Football, one of the greatest sports in the world. For Malaysia, it's no different. The love and energy Malaysians have for this sport is shared among communities, friends, and of course, family. Fathers and sons not only watch the games together, they even play together, be it an 11-a-side game or a smaller game of futsal. For a long time, that was the case for Syed and Razak, until joint pain got in the way.
Main futsal dengan anak sendiri ni adalah satu masa yang orang tak boleh beli. Itu yang merapatkan kami. Tapi sejak kebelakangan ni, saya agak kurang sikit lah main futsal sebab lutut saya yang sakit ni.
Syed is just one of the many joint pain sufferers in Malaysia who, because of this condition, stopped doing the things they love with the ones they love. Others across the globe feel the same way. Through data and research, we found that not only do they feel that joint pain gets in the way of family time, it's also quality of life threatening, even if it isn't life threatening. With this in mind, we decided to help Malaysians prevent joint pain from getting in the way. Panadol Extend presents Enabling Shared Passions, a campaign that acknowledges this real pain through real stories of real people, like Syed. Through his story, we highlighted how Panadol Extend can help Syed and others like him get back to being active with their loved ones thanks to the product's efficacy, helping him enjoy moments again, and suitability, easing his worries about using other medications, further reinforcing the fact that Panadol Extend is tough on joint pain, not on you. By leveraging on a wide range of assets across multiple channels, not only did this campaign prove to be a step change in the way this brand communicates in this category, but it also delivered results, registering the highest consumption in 2017. By the end of the year, Panadol Extend's market share and consumption growth increased significantly. By focusing on what's real, we encouraged Malaysians to win against joint pain so that they can continue their passions with their team, their family.
Cantik lah versi tadi. Ayah boleh.
So the combination of science and good storytelling gave a real meaning to Panadol Extend. And Malaysia continued this campaign this year. We started in January, and it's still on air until today. And because of this success, Singapore launched the same campaign in March with the same excellent results. In fact, 2 months after the launch, Panadol Extend Singapore posted 14.2% growth versus last year, their highest in 7 months. And as of year-to-date July, Panadol Extend is posting growth in both markets. So for Malaysia, our consumption is growing by 12%, while Singapore is growing by 3.4% amidst a declining market. So allow me to end by showing you the full version of the video with English subtitles for everyone's appreciation.
Kurang futsal. Disebabkan lutut saya ni lah. Sebab tu saya tanya ayah saya. Ayah, buatlah sesuatu. Panadol Extend bantu mengurangkan sakit sendi saya supaya saya boleh berlatih semula. Pada permulaan tu saya rasa macam kekok sikit, tapi sekarang saya dapat main futsal dengan anak saya lagi. Cantik lah versi tadi. Ayah boleh.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raisa, and to all the companies that participated, and thank you very much for taking your time to actually come and present the answers personally. So now we have panel discussion that will be moderated by Dave McCohan. So Dave, could you please come on stage? Thank you.
Got the name right. Okay, folks, we are going to do a panel, and if I could have the panel members, Jeff, come on up. I'm going to sit here in the middle, and you guys can spread around. Graham, you heard from earlier on today. This fine young gentleman you heard from earlier on today. Jeff is joining us. Jeff has a company. I've just gone blank on the name of the damn
DevHub,
company. I knew I'd get that.
yeah.
Right? DevHub, which is a startup. It's all a business that's about helping healthcare startups.
Yep, medtech, health tech startups, research, design, product development, product design.
And he is tied to, he's based around Raisin University in...
yes,
in
Rangsit University, Bangkok, Thailand.
Okay, and my name is Dave McCaughan, and I do a lot of stuff helping brands figure out their stories and helping brands figure out the narratives behind their stories. Now, if I have the remote, and there should be a thing up there so that I can go forward. We're going to rethink real-time data and talk about that. If you Google real-time data, that's what Google shows you. A bunch of meaningless graphs and some words that reflect things like big data and stuff that realistically nobody really understands. So we're going to try and discuss what real data means in the healthcare industry. The guys have different points of view from a research background, helping companies build startups and etc. use the data. And this fine young gentleman, Graham, and I go back 25 years, I think. We started working together. We're both from an advertising background, so we're looking at how you use the research and create stories using it. Now, before we get into that, I just want to make a point about something. So my fine friend Nucci, who also worked for me at one stage a long time ago, made a little joke about me, who I'm pretty sure I am the second oldest person in the room. Thank God Nicholas is here. And let me just explain something, because it actually ties up to something that when we heard about cessation earlier on. The reason I do not have my cell phone alarm is because I suffer terribly from insomnia. I have suffered from insomnia since I was a child. And in recent years, it was getting worse and worse. So I went to see a couple of specialists, and both specialists told me, do you have a mobile phone? Well, of course I have a mobile phone. Do you sleep with it in your room? Yes, I sleep with it in my room. And they said, all the research shows that no matter how well or badly you sleep, if you leave the cell phone outside of your bedroom, on average you'll sleep an hour more every night. So my wife banned cell phones from our bedroom. And that's why I don't use one. It is actually, it's called cellular cessation. And it's all about ceasing the use of cell phones. So, now the other thing I just want to remind people of is a very interesting thing about phones, etc. So, when we're thinking about big data, we are surrounded with these devices that we carry with us everywhere that are collecting data, and the way we interface with that is so different. Exactly 30 years ago, and I'm that old, 30 years ago, I can remember the first time I ever spoke at a conference where somebody introducing the conference said, can everybody in the room that has mobile phones please switch them off? Now, 30 years ago in 1988, not many people in a room this size would have had a mobile phone, and they were about this big. But you had to switch it off. Now, of course, we don't even bother with that now because we make the assumption that either you're going to sit there and take photos of us and Google us, or you're going to start watching porn because we're boring, one or the other, right? I don't mind which one you do. We are surrounded with devices. I'm sure most people in this room have or know lots of people that use different devices like this, that are used to collect data constantly. And of course, the premise is, no, it's not about collecting data for us, it's about you collecting data for yourself. But the reality is it's all about real-time big data collection that allows you to compare yourself with databases, etc., etc., etc. Now, some of that collection, of course, is built on mythologies. Does anybody try to walk 10,000 steps or more a day? Yes? Anybody do that? Why do you do why is it 10,000? Because the app told you to. Exactly. Why does the app tell you 10,000? Does anybody know? Okay, interesting piece of history. The first app to develop the idea that was sold that got you to walk 10 and measured the steps was actually sold in conjunction with the 1964 Olympic Games held in Tokyo. And a Japanese company invented this little gizmo you would hang off your belt that measured your steps. And their promotion piece was that you should be walking 10,000 steps a day to be just like the Olympians. Why was it 10,000? Nothing to do with health. It was because 10,000 in Japanese is a lucky number. It has no health actual fact behind it. It's a myth that's just grown and grown and grown for all these years. Of course, it doesn't do you any harm, and Steve, well done if you keep it up. Most of you have probably thought of buying watches, etc., that measure all sorts of things. And of course, now your measure not only a watch can now measure your steps, it can also measure your heart rate, etc. We are very, very close, and a couple of research companies that I've dealt with in the United States have now got trial models of on their mobile phones where you'll actually have your brain waves measured so that you can actually see how your brain is measuring and reacting to every single stimulus that's going on around you. And that data will be collected, of course, and centrally collected back by the providers to allow to check your stimulation against different things. That's real-time data collection. So we were gathered together to have a think about this. And so I'd like to start off by asking each of these three gentlemen to ask the rest of us a question. And I've asked them each to think of what's the one question they would like to ask the rest of the people on the panel in relation to real-time data. Vince, you want to go first?
My question to the esteemed panellists is, are consumers ready to digest the real-time data that we have planned for them?
Yeah, look, I think there's certainly an appetite for digesting the real-time data. I think consumers need help. I was looking at some stats before coming to this conversation. It's the volume of data that they have to look at, and it's in very disparate formats. It's in buckets that are not necessarily associated with one another. So consumers tap into small aspects of a much larger data pool. I think we're still a long way away from the concept of health scoring. I think that'll be the eventual future. Will there be some mechanism whereby we can live off a health score, which is a true aggregation of probably self-propagated data from wearables and so on, and also societal data you can measure against. But there's certainly an appetite. I think the interesting thing is those with the largest appetite are the healthy, who want to remain healthy. And I think all of your examples there were examples of healthy people wanting to stay fit or be fitter. I think the big hurdle is having sick people want that sort of data and to wear wearables that help them manage their illness.
Jeff?
I think that's a really good insight, is that the healthy people, they kind of gamify it, right? It's a culture. And the big hurdle is getting sick people to adopt it. But I would also say the general product technology that you can buy is still really far from where it needs to be, in my opinion. Like the iWatch, if you wrap it around a roll of toilet paper, you'll see a heartbeat, right? It's true, yeah. So like the level of sophistication in actual medical products in the hospital and the wearables that we can buy and use, there's a big gap. So how people collect this data, how they interpret this data, and they delete it, they distort it, they overreact to it. So it's definitely growing. People will continue to adopt it, but I think it's still in its kind of infancy.
What do you think, Vince?
Oh, great question. Great question. We should never underestimate consumers' appetite for information and insight to help them better. And I think us walking into the field of data analytics, of AI, etc., with an assumption that consumers are not ready, absolutely, it has to be packaged right, it has to be guided right, and we have to bring them to that platform. But humans are remarkable people. our brain processing is remarkable. So I think if we do guide and provide that and move them through that narrative and help them, then absolutely. You're absolutely right, Graham. In terms of patient activation, we measure that through a validated scale, and we're seeing that there are different health consumers out there that are activated towards health differently. So the trick is, how do you get those that aren't so activated, which is the billion-dollar question, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think one of the things that we have to take on board is a stuff that nearly everybody that's been up on stage today has talked about, which is whether we think it's true or not, people have massive self-egos, and they love to be able to measure themselves against other people. Nucci showed that Nike ad, right? I mean, the fact is that we all love to know that I've got 194,000 fans and you've only got 96,000, you know, or I got 55 likes for the stupid little video that I posted this morning. That's real-time data, right? That's feeding our ego, maybe not necessarily our physical health, but maybe our mental health. And I think the refinements are just how do we make it more accessible, easy to use, et cetera, et cetera. Graham, you had an interesting question.
Yes, something I've been grappling with for some time is, you know, health is incredibly personal and people are naturally protective of personal data. But financial information is equally, maybe more sensitive than health. We divulge that reasonably at random to a whole host of companies, banks that we bank with, credit card companies, insurance companies. So consumers are willing to divest information as it relates to non-health matters. When it comes to health, they're very protective. And we haven't really found a mechanism that enables or makes consumers willing to share their personal health data. So what does the health and wellness industry, people in this room, need to do to motivate people to share their health data? Because that's a missing piece of the puzzle.
Jeff, ideas?
Monetize it.
Yeah.
So if you Google, I just sneezed and it came out blue, your data is sold. You go visit your doctor, your medical record for that day, the data is scrubbed and then sold. So your fitness trackers, your Google searches, those are not scrubbed, right? And typically you have your name and personal information connected to those. The actual medical information is supposed to be scrubbed by law, and then it's resold. And I think there's enough people in the world where if you could monetize it, and it was like you're saying, you're keeping track of your life, you're measuring yourself against other people, you're gamifying certain things. I think everybody takes a picture of their meal almost every time anyways. So the problem with a lot of the data sets that we get in the health industry is that there's a lack of accuracy, right? So if you could create some kind of platform that had more accuracy, you knew who the person was, but the data was scrubbed, but it was a single data point. And you could, if they agreed to wear a fitness tracker, you could measure off of that. If you gave them some secure site where they could search, you knew what their searches was, but everything that was being sold, they were getting money from instead of not getting money from it. I think it would incentivize people.
Vince?
I think it's a data issue everywhere, just in terms of the security of that data, how it's being used, the context in which the insight is coming from as well, and that tends to lead to distrust. We won't mention the American political scene at this stage, but that's an example in which big data has some way to go in terms of what we do with it and what we share and how it's being used. So I think we need to ensure people or assure people just in terms of the rigor on how it is actually being used and who's got access to it and what's going on. And absolutely monetize it, gamify it, and so forth.
So the idea of monetizing or gamifying or legislating. China, it's becoming legislated that you have to, everybody has the universal card, etc. The Indian Supreme Court just last week, I think it was, or the end of the week before, passed the new approved with some revisions the new ID system. So basically, in the next couple of years, over 1 billion Indians will have finger and retinal scans as the way in which they can actually access anything. And they won't be able to access things like bank accounts, driver's licenses, unless they have their fingerprint. More important, their retinal scan. And of course, one of the back things behind that is that once you get retinal scans, you can read an awful lot of health issues through that, right? Now, blockchain is the big thing that everybody's talking about at the moment. Just last night, I was on a 2-hour call with some people in America that are looking at blockchain for market research purposes and have developed a scheme, but it's based around the universal basic wage model, that everybody in America will be offered literally a basic wage of $20 a day to participate in the model, and it will be continually ongoing. So I think these sorts of systems, one way or the other, compensation models will be able to actually incentivize or force people to do it one way or the other.
Okay.
Maybe.
The challenge is for marketeers to solicit data. As I said, we give data voluntarily to our banks, but we don't give data voluntarily to GSK or to J&J. Now, why is that? I mean, I saw really probably two themes coming out of that. One is we've got to build trust. You touched on that. Is it secure? Will it be used in a fair manner? Will I receive fair and accurate advice as a consequence of that? And utility, value. If there's some value back to me, I think financial institutions give value.
Sure.
When I share that, I get something back.
And yet, what could be of more value than your health, right? So,
yeah, if they can add value to my
if they can add value to
health, by using my data.
Yeah, but then again, as I pointed out, doing 10,000 paces a day for millions of people around the world is a value add that they believe in and measure, intimately, and it's based on a bit of a cultural myth, So imagine if you give them some statistics or some real stuff. Yeah. Jeff, you had a good question too.
I did.
But yeah, with your thing you answered it.
I left my phone on my desk, so let me think of a good question. You were just talking about going in India and America and monetizing this. How does the company interpret the data it collects, and then how does it present it back to the user in a way that the user can interpret it and get real value as devices improve, accuracy improves?
Yeah, it's a good point.
And anybody that's tried to merge data sets from different sources, whether it's mobile tech through to sales, etc., claims data, knows that the one big lesson is you need to learn to fail. Sorry, not fail, but to learn. It is hard work. Data is not clean. So working with data is incredibly difficult. So what we're talking about is someone will do it and crack it, but it is tough work.
It's tough work. So with that in mind, yes. I don't know if you three guys have seen, there's an English company called Future Agenda that does these global studies annually on big subjects. Last year, their big subject was on health data. And what they do is they go into I think they went into 40 cities around the world where they held long 1-day or 2-day workshops with groups of about 40 or 50 experts of all types. Their report is worth looking up. There's a freebie report about 80 pages in depth. They looked at a lot of Asian marketplaces. They measure the marketplaces in terms of, in this particular subject, they scale them. The colour of your country is about how strict the legislation is about data security. You can see that, places like Japan, Singapore is too small, but it is a blue country. Japan, Australia, etc. are very safe. India, it's saying, is not very safe, but then the Supreme Court things of the last 2 weeks will probably be changing the way we think about that. But interestingly, out of all that report, when they looked across those markets, they found that the top 3 challenges in markets with high privacy regulation was combining data sets, exactly what you said, getting closer to the patient, because actually having the data, as we've talked about, and getting close to people is one thing, and trust, just that whole basic area of trust. But the big opportunities were artificial intelligence and the way in which we won't necessarily have to ask anybody to do anything. We will gather it through artificial intelligence methods. Genetic profiling as a way in which we can actually find out if we have Native American ancestors, apparently.
Yes.
Anyway, if you don't get that joke, watch the news today.
Elizabeth Warren.
Or rather listen to Trump's latest diatribe. And predictive analysis. So lots of possibilities with that. But I asked these guys to answer the next question, but before I find out their answers, I'm going to ask you to all do a very simple exercise in real-time data gathering. Now, to do that, you all have to stand up. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you a question, and the answer to the question is a 5-point scale. 1 means I disagree. 5 means I really agree. And I want you to move either to 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, where you think you fit in the room in answering this question. On a 1 to 5 scale, is real-time data a good thing or bad? 1, it's no good. 5, it's excellent. Move. Where do you fit? Physically move. Physically move. It's good for you, right? You can get about 15 of your 10,000 steps in this way. Well, that's pretty interesting, right? So let's all remember, my life has been as a market researcher for 30 years, that Asia is noted for the fact that typically on any Liggett scale, correct me if I'm wrong, Asians don't like to go to the extremes, right? They love to sit more in the middles. So it's usually be the 3s or 4s and not so many of the 5s. So interesting. Guys, what did you guys say? I know one of you said 2.5. Thank you. What did you think?
5.
5?
For sure.
10.
10. Oh, 10. Very interesting. So our little exercise, real-time data says that an awful lot of experts in the health field think that this is a very good thing. The problem is going to be how we do it, right? So take your 15 steps back to your seat, if you like. Thank you for participating. I'm told that this is all being recorded, so you're now part of a live experiment. Now, we talked about how to make it more interesting. How many of you have ever attended CES in Las Vegas? Yes? Great. You know, every marketer should at least once go to CES, held in January, early January in Las Vegas. It's the #1 new tech show in the world. One of the most interesting products from this year's CES was a new product from L'Oreal. It's a UV sensor. Now, that's the sensor at the moment. It looks like a little disc that you actually stick on your nail. Actually, what they're working on is within the next 2 years, it will be a false nail. And so when the ladies in the room go and get their nails done, you just fit a false nail over one of your nails, and it measures UV rays. It measures where you are. So it's GPS.
GPS.
Thank you. It's GPS connected, so it measures exactly where you are 24 hours a day, what the sun rays are, what the UV rays are, and what your skin condition is, and we'll send it back to an app on your phone. But also, of course, it will send that information back to L'Oreal's database. So imagine if 25 million people, women around the world, and men, I'm sure they're going to figure out a way to sell this to men as well, for those of us that don't necessarily paint our nails every day, just on Saturday nights. Hey, we live in Bangkok. We do that, right?
Yeah.
But so, you know, it's a fantastic, very casual, and this is what will happen more and more. It's not even truly a wearable. It's not a device. It's just part of my makeup, right? Of course, brands have been thinking about how to make data collection much more relevant and easier. Now, some of you that have heard me talk before will have heard me talk about toilets, because you cannot have a talk about in technology and health without talking about the single most important technology in the history of mankind, flushing toilets. This is the Toto toilet, and in it is a sensor. This was first released about 12 years ago, but in that Toto toilet, there's a sensor that when you pee into the toilet takes 17 different body measurements from your pee, different health measurements. Fantastic. How many of you remember that Toto, of course, is a Japanese company? What's the other leading Japanese health technology company? Nintendo. First of all, because of the brainwaves technology, software they came up with, but more importantly, the Wii machine. Now, what was interesting was when the Wii machine was introduced in Japan, they devised a system so that every time you played golf, tennis, or whatever your favourite sport, Wii sport was, you not only could read on your screen, it could be loaded up onto your computer so you could track how you were doing over time. It could also be sent to your doctor. And they actually did a deal with Toto so that you could pee into the toilet every day and it would measure all these different things through your urine, and it would also send your Wii activity back to your doctor, and the whole point of that was the ageing society. And it was a ways in which they could get ageing people to do more exercise, measure the effect, and then be able to have doctors be able to do literally daily or more than daily reports on how much you were exercising, what exercise you were doing, and how that it was affecting body functions, etc., through your pee. Seems like a pretty good idea, right? Didn't really take off because people at the time thought it might be a bit too personal. But it's going to happen, right? Because this is behavioural real-time data collection. Interestingly, though, as we speak in America, this particular professor, Dr. Borkholder, has a new system that involves, it's a sensor built into your toilet seat, and it's aimed particularly for people that are likely to suffer from, have been predicted to suffer from heart failure. And this measures, every time you go to the toilet, takes all these measurements so that it can predict whether your in danger has increased. And the idea is that they'll be able to, every time you go to the toilet, tell you whether you're within half an hour of a heart failure occurrence. Now, this is not for everybody, but this is real-time data collection for people that have a real issue. I've got to get this, right? Because at my age, you need this sort of stuff. So that leads us to the next question. We want to, go back. Give us one practical clue as to how marketers could really use real-time data. Give me your idea of what's one idea. You've got one, I know.
Comment on what you just showed.
Please.
Yeah, my view is that's all gimmickry. You know, I think people need a health score. You can't measure, you can't measure everything with a multitude of apps and a multitude of gadgets you strap on your body. You've got to be having a holistic view to measurement. It's got to be physical, emotional, lifestyle, and that's the future. So these things measure such minute components of our health and well-being. Now, maybe the heart failure one, useful, that's a specific need state, but, measuring sun rays or measuring a couple of biometric readings is not going to make you any healthier. It's often gimmickry and it's often marketing-led because it does come back to a brand, which is fine. But I think we've got to sort of separate what's truly going to move the health and well-being of individual society forward with data and wearables versus what's a marketing activity.
But what is a good way marketers could use real-time data?
For me, it's personalisation. I think having access to, there's probably two types of data. There's aggregate data, there's societal data, and then there's individual data. There's the challenge of getting the individual data, the challenge of trust and utility. Will they share it with us? But even if it's aggregate data, it's incumbent on us now to become much more personal with our customers. We should be able to know precisely when to reach them, how to reach them, what to say to them in a way that's valuable to them, because we have the real-time data. And I just don't think we are anywhere near that at this point. We have pockets of excellence, I guess, from a marketing perspective, but we're not getting close enough to our customers, even though we have the data available to us. So it's personalization for me.
Okay. Thoughts?
I would say inspiration. You have to inspire the user. And I think as we go forward into the future, you're going to see less people seeking doctors reactively and more seeking them proactively. So I think if you had a clear understanding of your state of health and you had a certain set of goals and then you knew what you wanted to track, then you would be able to have kind of like new segments, new consumer groups to manage.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, we're trying to change behaviour. So we are marketers. Behavioural change has to be part of that mix. So anything that you can do with the real-time data that you have to prompt a behaviour change that increases health and wellness of that individual is going to benefit. The big practical area that we're seeing a lot of interest, which is, that there is a huge opportunity for health improvement, is simply around adherence. That is probably one area of untapped value from an industry perspective of getting people to take their consumer health or prescriptive health on the day they should, when they should, and for how long they should. So that, from a practical perspective, if your real-time data can prompt that behaviour change, then we're in good shape.
What about the audience? Has anybody got a thought about how marketers could or are using real-time data? Yes, sir, up the back.
No.
Real-time data could be used to make mics work.
So I had an interesting idea once upon a time. My name is Chris Blank, and I'm the founder and CEO of the largest pharmacy chain in Vietnam. And I actually have a data science background as well. And a long time ago, one of the things that we wanted to do, which I never actually completed, but I think it would still be a great idea, would be to stick cameras in the store that can analyze like a gender profile of the shoppers, and then switch the displays or the advertisements on the screens in the TV stores to target the shoppers in that specific area, and then check to see if that improves sales. I always thought that would be kind of
I actually worked on a project in Japan a few years ago where, for a particular brand, don't think I'm allowed to say it, because they actually did this with signage inside the giant railway stations, Shinjuku, etc., stations inside Tokyo. So that as you approached the thing, it did a facial recognition thing and changed the ad to suit it. Now they had one particular product that took up the trial, and it was a feminine hygiene product. Unfortunately, they did it at a particular station, and one of the particular signage places was the place where trans people hung out a lot. And it confused the crap out of the machine. So, it was constantly sort of like, well, the president of that particular, it was the Japan office of a multinational Western American company, went to watch it. He's a very nice man, he's a very good friend of mine, but he did lose his temper because he kept on, literally, in a very polite Japanese way, saying, "Dave-san, it's not fucking women it's talking to."
How long ago was that?
That was about 7 years ago. No, I think the technology is probably different. You can do it, right? So I think there's a lot of experiments with that sort of technology going on. It's probably a good idea.
So it's one way I was thinking. Also, another thing that we're doing now at Pharma City, which we've launched this week actually. You know how on Grab or Uber, like after you complete a ride, then it will ask you to rate the driving experience, like 5 stars or 1 star, depending on your experience. Like we started doing that with our pharmacy as well. So we have an app for our customers, and then when our customers come to the store and they buy something, then when they actually complete the transaction, they'll get an alert on their phone that asks them to rate, like, how was the in-store experience. And we're kind of thinking about like doing that on different products as well.
Right.
So we could just kind of get like...
and do that across stores, etc.
Yeah.
So you remind me again of a story I heard. I was talking at a health related conference in Korea recently, and there was a great example came up of, I think it was 20 plus hospitals have got together in Korea, and they basically are recording all activity in the hospital, loading it up onto a central server so that they can immediately, on a minute-by-minute basis, compare themselves with across all these 20 hospitals on exactly every activity of the hospital. What's being done, who is it being done to, how long is it taking, is the medicine being done right, are the nurses doing the right thing, is the food being delivered on time, are people eating the food, what do they prefer, are they finishing the whole pudding or only half the pudding, etc., etc., etc. It's very interesting models. Thank you. One more, maybe that gentleman up the back next to Steve. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sadi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm from Limbic, so I'm actually in the middle of this conversation because I'm in artificial intelligence and data science. 2 examples that I want to think of. One, in India, Airtel is one of the largest, it is the largest mobility company. What they've done is they've combined with organizations to use real-time location-based analysis to actually send out offers. One of the most interesting examples, stuff that you won't normally think of, is they tied up with a recruitment company to get them specific profiles based on the location of where specific kind of people go to work, right? So you get, for those guys, they get alerts on their cell phones. They don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. They're using location to kind of, take a guess that 9 out of 10 guys are going to be like this and send out job offers. So that was, I thought, very interesting. This example, the other example that I want to take, which all of us would be familiar with, which is Amazon. When you go onto Amazon, they say, do you also like these, right? Or you may also be interested in these. Now, in both these examples, and we know they work, right? Both these examples, one of the points that came up was the challenge about how, as regulatory pressure increases, how do you actually identify the individual? And therefore, how can you be more effective in sort of what the insight tells you? Now, in both these examples, you actually don't know the person, right? So there are algorithms that have come up. Amazon uses collaborative filtering. There are technologies that have come up, AI, machine learning, etc. They can actually find those insights without necessarily those traditional, identifiers. So I just wanted to share that.
Very good. Let me just share one example that I've worked on not long ago. Oh, sorry, this has all got screwed up somehow. This is for Otsuka in Japan. They were releasing, or they had released a new drug that was for a particular, people with a particular very severe kidney disease. And basically without the drug you would die. But what they wanted to do was to measure the way in which, as they rolled out the drug, the reaction that it was getting. So they used a artificial intelligence platform that I work with, where instead of having to ask anybody in the 2 test markets, which were Japan and Germany, we were able to track day by day what was the reaction across the internet to that drug. And what it particularly was able to do was to focus on what was the narratives being formed by both users, by support groups, by families, etc., as they were reporting everything on the internet. So if you were tweeting, hey, you know, my suffering husband is using this drug, it got measured. If you were in a support group, blog, it got measured, etc. And it allowed us to dramatically measure the differences between the two markets in terms of the way in which responses were happening, how people were reacting to the release, how they were reacting to the treatments, etc., etc. So I think this is sort of like stuff that's in the market research world has become more and more normal. So let me just finish by asking one more question of the guys. Can you think of somebody who's actually using real-time data in a good way right now?
Yeah, I was thinking of this from both, I guess you get sort of aggregate data and you've got sort of personal data. I came armed with a good marketing one, but I was really taken by Vince's one in his presentation. I just love the idea of sort of a geolocator that tracks where you are, then on your behalf measures your exposure to the sun, and then sort of graciously guides you to a store that will then enable you to apply some protection. But there's real value in that to the consumer. It aligns very much to sort of government agendas and things. So I think for me that was an example I learnt this morning, which was probably better than one I came with. I just want to maybe add that there's also probably, what's the most meaningful use of real-time data? And I think we tend to sort of look at sort of marketing-led examples. But for me, I think sort of remote monitoring and telemedicine for me is still the most meaningful use of real-time data. Getting access to healthcare, access to specialisms or competencies, no matter where you are in the world. That for me is the most meaningful use of real-time data so far.
Another example? You've already given us one.
Yeah, thanks for reiterating that. I feel the pressure's down a little bit.
Okay.
I think there's pockets of real-time data being used extremely well, particularly around health tech. They are starting to use it because of the analytic power that they have behind the companies they are. There's also less regulations, etc., that sometimes our larger MNCs are tied down in terms of applying that. The other place I'm seeing it is in hospital. There are certain hospital chains who use real-time data extremely well from a process perspective, shifting patients from one unit to another and so forth, and really focused on getting that patient experience at that point seamless. There's a great opportunity there if you ever visit a China hospital in terms of process. But I think they're happening. It's only up.
Jeff?
When I answered the question, I answered it more from a consumer standpoint, and I thought not really yet. I still think it's kind of too young, but I have seen instances of specific applications and it working really well. But I think in terms of like the general consumer and making meaning of it and the level of accuracy, I see it as all still too young, but it's definitely going to go that way, and it's going to be amazing. If you look at how it's progressed over the last 10 years and the rate of adoption, the increase in the technology. So it'll definitely be there, but in my opinion, for the consumer right now, not so much.
And I'll just add one more. Regardless of the 10,000 steps, that's a great application of real-time data usage for the consumer.
Sure. No, I think the point is that whether it's myth-based or fact-based, getting people to change behaviour in a positive way is always a good thing. And despite the debate around false facts and everything that we have in the political world today, most people like to react to something that they think is fact-based. So maybe that's where to go. And personally, I think the fact that so many of you shifted to that side of the room says that we all have a huge thirst for this. I know these guys have other examples and stuff. I've got a ton of them. So if you'd like to talk about any more of those, please let me know. Please let these guys know. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everybody. That's that.
Thank you.
So now awards time. Our third award is for digital World Digital Award for the most innovative new digital marketing campaign. And I would like to ask Anne Juliet to come on stage to present Combatrin J&J Indonesia.
Good afternoon again, everyone. So what I will share is the same project as what I shared earlier, which is about how do we accelerate the deworming category in Indonesia. What I would like to highlight here, because we are talking about the digital category, is what would be the key strengths why we are able to drive really and deliver very strong results. The number one very strong point is the content. So the content and the idea and the insight behind this the campaign, that's the one that's delivering and also really driving the engagement rate, which 5 times higher than industry benchmark. And then second is we are doing the time targeting as well as contextual messaging, which is relevant with the tension, the conversation that we already observe in the digital space. So those two things that are able to really deliver the results beyond our expectations. What we see here is that even the engagement in the mobile digital, it's higher than what we see in other category. Maybe what I can show again is the video of the results to remind you what in terms of the delivery of the result that we able to generate from this campaign.
Combatrin is the leading deworming drug in the anthelmintic industry in Indonesia. However, it faced the challenge of a slowing down of total industry market growth. The brand wanted to find a platform to raise awareness, increase sales, and accelerate their growth faster than the industry. Today, many Indonesian families are spoiled with increasingly sophisticated technology, with lots of gadgets and devices. This tends to isolate families, especially children, from the outside world. Combining that insight with the mission of Indonesia Ministry of Education and Culture of shaping human beings with character education, inspired by the spirit of the community, Combatrin Jam Main Kita campaign was launched. Here is how we did it. Taking its cue from the young techie consumers, Combatrin focused on the opportunity to leverage digital platforms and mobile, given smartphones are ubiquitous among these generational segments. Combatrin Jam Main Kita had a pre-launch event where parents and children were treated to fun, nostalgic traditional games. The campaign was officially launched on Indonesia's National Education Day at the Istana Presidential Palace. Combatrin's activity online and on social media expanded the reach of social relevance of Jam Main Kita campaign. Mobile was the unifying factor that connected all the messages in the digital mix. Targeting parents based on their behavior, ads were served specially when they were playing mobile games. A mobile video campaign was launched to showcase the thematic message of Jam Main Kita and raised awareness for the need for outdoor play and inspired families to bond over traditional games. After watching the video, an end card provided for the opportunity for inspired consumers to act on their conviction and pledge support for Jam Main Kita. Combatrin's Jam Main Kita campaign was a success. Here are the results. Jam Main Kita became trending in Twitter during the pledging day. The social media campaign had over 3.5 million impressions, 76% above delivery. Over 14,000 people pledged to support the movement. The mobile video campaign generated 5.08% engagement, 5 times that of the industry benchmark. The zero buffer videos resulted to a video completion rate of 53.47%. This is 80% more than industry standard. A tremendous amount of free mileage worth 11 billion Indonesian rupiah was generated. Best of all, from an industry with declining sales, Combatrin did a positive turn with a double-digit growth of more than 17%. Combatrin Jam Main Kita truly became a successful national social movement in Indonesia.
Yeah. So the most powerful behind even the digital campaign is the content and the idea itself. Just a little secret is how it can be that powerful is we are shifting the category from like scary, like just product, deworming product category to a more joyful, giving the parents, the children, playful experience. So that's what's really making this beyond a campaign, but making it as a movement, connecting it with a brand purpose. And that's what also really attract not only, well, our audience, but as well as our government. So this really attract our number one person in Indonesia, President Joko Widodo. He invited us to come to his office, the Indonesia Palace, to have these children play traditional games in Indonesia Palace. So that's strong content that's really driving also the digital performance. Thank you.
All right, so 3 more entries for the digital award before the cocktail and network hour starts. So the second entry is Doctorine Gold, J&J China, and we have a video, I believe.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the brand owner of Daktarin. Daktarin family has strong portfolio and communicated in China market for around 30 years, helping Chinese patients relieve from the athlete food. And Gold Daktarin is a hero SKU which is driving the business growth of Daktarin family. However, we are facing challenge on media efficiency due to category low incident rate. Athlete food incidence rate is only 30%, which means 70% of the media resource is wasted when using the traditional TVC or OTV. So the solution is the digital innovation I would to share to you today, hyper-targeted OTV, which has applied to Gold Daktarin advertising in the 2018. In the following session, I will introduce you how to leverage Ali Big Data and to hyper-target the AF patients. How we do that? We have 3 steps. The first one is labeling. We identify the patients who have viewed, searched, saved, and put into cart any AF-related products in the past half years through Ali Big Data. The second point is exposure. We expose the advertising to the patients who are identified as the AF sufferers through the big data. In the websites of video contents, such as Youku or Tudou. The third step is to guide the patients to close the purchase loop, and they will click the link and to landing into the Daktarin e-commerce page, and they also can go to the drugstore to buy the products of Daktarin family. So in the following video, you will see the whole picture. Finally, we got brilliant results. Exposure, reach, ad click. As I have mentioned before, athlete food incidence rate is only 30%. For the traditional TVC, 70% of audience are not relevant to the advertising. And now, let's see the reach accuracy improvement through the digital innovation. In the traditional TVC environment, if 100 people see the advertising, 30 of them are AF sufferers. But for hyper-targeted approach, if 100 people see Daktarin advertising, 93 of them are AF sufferers. And here is our sales achievement of the innovation. In-store sell-out growth of the key account is 30%, while the e-commerce of Ali platform grows at 33%. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy it.
Our third entry for the digital award will be presented by Earl Hayona, and this is for IMO brand, Combifa.
Okay, I'm sorry about a while ago. I hope my clicker now works. Okay. All right. The Philippines is the social media capital of the world. And I want to say that Naki is right. Thailand is the one that spent the longest in the internet usage in the world, while the Philippines is the social media country. Okay? And 2.1 billion of the total world population is using Facebook. The only point here is that the Philippines is now is an emerging market for digital, and it is very important that we will cover no stones unturned. We have to cover the digital, and we have to be in the digital world. So I have prepared a video for the IMO digital campaign. Why it happens always with IMO? Okay, ready? Technical glitches.
Well, I'm sure we can resolve the technical issue. So meanwhile, the fourth entry for the digital award will be presented by Sanchita for the brand Motrin J&J China.
Thank you. I'll use that real-time data and not show you a video, and I'll just talk you through some great results. So in China, actually, if you've heard the discussion today that we've had here, which is about, connecting with the consumer, activating all kinds of touch points, having a relationship with the consumer, and going beyond the pill. This case study actually, I think, to my mind, sums up all of that. And what they actually did in China for young moms is they gave them something which is invaluable, and that is convenience, especially when your baby is suffering from fever. So obviously, it's natural that a mom will worry when their baby contacts fever. And the most trusted piece of advice is from your pediatrician. However, the challenge in China is the access to the healthcare professional. To meet, I'll come back to this, but what I want to show you is an image, which is probably hidden. It's actually an image which shows you moms waiting at clinics. And I will give you a prize if you guess the hours that they have to wait to meet an HCP. Any guesses? It's close. It's 7 hours, right? And as a brand, if you can change that for your consumer, you've actually added value to their lives, and that's exactly what Motrin in China did. What we actually did was we partnered with different associations, and I'll show you those. So these are the different associations we partnered with to actually publish white papers. And we did 2 versions of the white papers. One was a professional one, which was used for different activations and for detailing with healthcare professionals. And the other one was a cartoon version, which was mom-friendly. Very easy to decode. Moms could understand that. And one of the challenges with medication for fever for babies is if you don't get the right access in the right time, there is a lot of misuse of different medication, and that obviously has its ramifications. While this white paper was rolled out, the content of the white papers was extremely comprehensive. So it had prevention and treatment of most of the popular diseases that moms visited the doctors for. It also told you about, the guidelines of visiting a doctor. When do you actually need to visit a doctor? When can you actually kind of treat the baby at home? And also guidelines of safe medication. The reason that it had credibility is because of the partnerships that we'd put in place. And we also heard all the speakers today talking about its marketing in a digital world and not just activating digital necessarily. And that's what this campaign actually did. It activated every touch point at every moment of truth that mattered to our consumers. So be it the hospital, be it online mom and baby sites, be it e-commerce, or be it pharmacies. We activated all those touch points. So in hospitals, we actually partnered with Safe Kids, worked with over 100 healthcare professionals, over 100 hospitals and over 1,000 healthcare professionals, partnered with the biggest mom and baby sites in China, and put out content for moms there. And interestingly, on e-commerce, how did we plug the gap of the 7-hour wait time? You could use real-time consultation with doctors online. So moms could actually log on. We had a tie-up with different healthcare professionals and actually consult them in real time for their babies. And then, of course, we also tied up with a number of national key accounts when it comes to pharmacies to activate in-store, and also activated their CRM systems as well to reach out to many more moms who would probably need this service. So that's just detailing all the steps that we took. So this is about how we partnered with healthcare professionals in hospitals, amplified the content on the mom and baby platforms. Also, and if you've been to China and if it's part of the markets that you handle, you would know that if you want to communicate with anybody in China in your team, you use WeChat, right? And therefore, what we also did was we activated key opinion leaders on those platforms, which are chat platforms, which are absolutely massive in China. So we use KOLs on WeChat. And then we also partnered with the top e-commerce platforms in China, put out content there, and also gave access to the moms. And I was actually going to talk about this tomorrow, but I'll probably tell you today that Ali Health in China has enabled delivery to your doorstep within 30 minutes, right? And that becomes invaluable for a mom who has a baby who's gotten fever. So it takes away the trouble for her to go to a pharmacy. They've tied up with offline pharmacies and enabled delivery within, actually, it's not even 30 minutes, it's 28 minutes. And of course, the whole joint business partnerships that we put in place with pharmacies to activate the in-store bit. We had a charity activity. There was a family medicine box that was given out to moms. And also, there was offline mommy classes that were enabled. Now, obviously, there are many, many things, and it takes a village to run a campaign like this, especially in a geography like China, which is absolutely massive. We reached out to 25 million moms. That number has actually increased over the past few months. Over 147 hospitals engaging more than 1,000 healthcare professionals, activating 10,000 drugstores. And while digital metrics are good to have, the actual metrics is why I call this campaign a resounding success. We had a whopping 36% growth in sales and a market share gain of 1.3%. And there was also an increase in the purchase intent for people who've never used Motrin Fever for babies, and professional endorsement image also drastically improved. So yeah, that's pretty much it from China. Thank you very much.
Right, so we need to put the voting for the digital award on hold until the morning, unfortunately. But the good news is that we are ready to start the networking hour, which is sponsored by DKSH. And we hope you have enjoyed the day. I hope it's been insightful for you. Much more to come from the conversations with colleagues. And see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We start with the presentation from GSK. Thank you.